Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it's time. The President's Cup, the stage where golf's biggest egos clash in a battle unlike any other. Forget what you know about polite claps and country club manners. This is war, USA versus the internationals, with nothing less than national pride on the line. And when the pressure's on and the stakes are high, well, let's just say things get intense. From drunk players to heated confrontations, this gentleman's event has a lot to entertain us. But what really happens when the cameras stop rolling? The behind-the-scenes feuds, the whispered scandals, the meltdowns that rocked team rooms? We're about to dive into the 8 most outrageous moments in President's Cup history. Trust me, by the end of this, you'll see golf in a whole new light. Let's kick things off with number 8 on our list. The year is 1998, and we're heading down under to Royal Melbourne Golf Club in Australia. That tournament is the most impressive on our list. Why? Because this is the story of the only time the international team has ever won the President's Cup. Yeah, you heard that right. In 30 years of competition, the international team has only managed to lift the trophy once, but they did it in style. The US team rolls into Melbourne as the heavy favorites. They've got Tiger Woods, they've got Phil Mickelson, they've got all these big names. And what happens? They get absolutely destroyed. We're talking a 20.5 to 11.5 beatdown. The internationals, led by the likes of Ernie Els, Vijay Singh, and local hero Greg Norman, just steamrolled the Americans. It was a shock to the system for US golf. Their aura of invincibility completely shattered. The international team was tired of being the perpetual underdog, always coming up short. They wanted to prove they belonged on the same stage as the Americans. And for one glorious week in December 1998, they did just that. But the thing is, this massive upset should have been the start of a more competitive era in the President's Cup. It should have lit a fire under the international team and put the Americans on notice. Instead, it turned out to be their one shining moment. So unique that to this day they haven't been able to defeat the American team again. Moving on to number 7, we're fast-forwarding to 2003. Fancourt, South Africa. The sun is setting, the scores are tied, is the story of the only tie in President's Cup history. That doesn't sound very exciting, but trust me, this was no ordinary tie. This was drama of the highest order. So here's the scene. After 4 days of intense competition, the US and international teams are deadlocked at 17-17. The captains, Jack Nicklaus for the US and Gary Player for the internationals, have to pick one player each for a sudden death playoff. Who do they choose? Only Tiger Woods and Ernie Els. You know, just 2 guys who happen to be the best golfers on the planet at the time. They match each other shot for shot, hole after hole. The tension is so thick you could cut it. The sun is sinking lower in the sky, and still, neither player can gain the upper hand. 3 playoff holes later, it's get Fincham saying, look, if we can't finish, the US retains the cup as defending champs. But Nicklaus and Player aren't having it. They're like, nah, that's not fair. Let's call it a tie. And both teams share the trophy. It's unprecedented, it's controversial, and it's absolutely riveting. But it wasn't that simple. This decision to share the cup didn't sit well with everyone. Fans were divided, players were confused, some people thought it was a cop-out and that they should have come back the next day to finish it. Others praised it as a display of true sportsmanship. Anyway, this tie was so controversial, so unexpected, that they actually changed the rules afterward. Now, if there's a tie after all the matches are played, it just ends in a tie. No more playoffs, no more drama. But nothing can erase the memory of that twilight battle between Woods and Els, a moment that will live forever in President's Cup lore. All right, leaving that tie behind, we're cruising into number 6 on our list. It's 2009, and Australian golfer Robert Allenby is about to learn a hard lesson about mixing alcohol with high-stakes golf. Well, it was a lesson for all. It's the night before Allenby's final singles match at the President's Cup in San Francisco. Instead of getting a good night's sleep, our Aussie friend decides to hit the town. A quiet dinner and an early bedtime? Allenby allegedly goes on a full-blown bender. The next day, hungover and probably regretting his life choices, Allenby stumbles onto the course. And surprise, he loses his match. But instead of owning up to his mistake, Allenby decides to point fingers. He accuses his American opponent, Anthony Kim, of being the real party animal, claiming Kim had been out all night too. The audacity of this guy. Needless to say, Kim and the American team weren't too thrilled with these accusations. The whole incident left a sour taste in everyone's mouth and painted Allenby as a sore loser with a penchant for stirring up troubles. Fast forward to 2011, and Allenby's at it again. After a dismal performance where he fails to win a single point for the international team, does he take responsibility? No. He blames his teammates for his poor showing. This sparked a heated exchange with fellow Aussie Jeff Ogilvy, nearly resulting in a fistfight. Who knew golf could be so pugilistic? Let's go to number 5. We're in the 2015 President's Cup in South Korea, and a moment that had everyone going, wait, what just happened? It's day 2 of the competition. The atmosphere is electric. The US team is locked in a tight battle with the internationals. And then, out of nowhere, Phil Mickelson, one of the most experienced and savvy players in the game, makes a mistake so basic that everybody shakes their heads in disbelief. So what exactly went down? Well, Mickelson, playing alongside Zach Johnson in a 4-ball match, decides to switch to a firmer golf ball for his second shot on the par 5 7th hole. Sounds innocent enough, right? Wrong. Dead wrong. See, Mickelson thought he was in the clear. In Ryder Cup play, when the event's in the US, there's no one-ball rule. So Phil figured the same applied to the President's Cup outside the States. But it doesn't. The one-ball rule was very much in effect, meaning players had to stick with the same type of ball throughout the round. The penalty for this infraction? 1-hole adjustment. Basically, Mickelson and Johnson go from all square in their match to 1 down. But wait, it gets better, or worse depending on how you look at it. A rules official, maybe in a moment of confusion, tells Mickelson he's disqualified from the hole. So Phil picks up his ball, leaving Johnson to play the hole alone against Jason Day and Adam Scott. Day wins the hole, and now Mickelson and Johnson are 2 down. But why do we say it might have been a moment of confusion? Because that wasn't even the right ruling. Mickelson could have actually finished the hole, either with the wrong ball or after putting the correct one back into play. If he had tied the hole, they would have only lost 1 hole for the rules breach instead of 2. It was mistake after mistake, no matter how you looked at it. And the worst part, once any player hit their next shot, there was no way to fix it. The damage was done. As you can probably imagine, these mistakes weren't serious enough to put the US team at risk. The international team ended up losing that year as well. As we go forward to number 4 on our countdown, we land in 2009, in a performance so dominant and flawless that it left everyone in awe. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Tiger Woods and his perfect 5-0 record. But this isn't just about Tiger being Tiger. This is about one man absolutely carrying his team to victory in a way that had never been seen before in President's Cup history. Harding Park, San Francisco. Tiger Woods is at the height of his powers. He's paired with Steve Stricker for the team matches. And these two? They're not just good, they're unstoppable. They both win all 4 of their team matches. But Tiger's not done, he's just getting started. In the singles on Sunday, he faces Yi Yang, the guy who had shocked the world by beating Tiger in the PGA Championship just a few months earlier. Revenge, the name is Tiger. Woods demolishes Yang 6-5, securing the clinching point for the US team. 5 matches played, 5 points won. Perfect. Flawless. Unprecedented. Tiger's performance was so dominant, so otherworldly, that it kind of overshadowed everything else about the event. His teammates, afterthoughts. The international team, mere speed bumps on Tiger's road to perfection. This performance set a new standard for excellence in the President's Cup, but it also was like, hey, wasn't this supposed to be a team event? So, why has this guy managed to make it all about him? Exactly. Now we're sliding into the top 3 on our list. And what do we have here? A controversy with the best sports drama. This is the Patrick Reed saga. So if you know anything about Patrick Reed, you know he's no stranger to controversy. But what went down in Australia in 2019? That was on a whole new level. Just days before the President's Cup kicks off at Royal Melbourne, Reed is caught on camera improving his lie in a bunker at the Hero World Challenge. It was blatant sand moving. Reed claims it was an accident, but the golf world isn't buying it. He's hit with a 2-stroke penalty, but more importantly, he's branded a cheater. Fast forward to Melbourne. Reed steps onto the first tee, and the Aussie crowd? They're out for blood. We're talking boos, jeers, and some truly creative heckling. Mr. Sandman becomes Reed's unwanted nickname for the week. Every shot, every hole, the crowd is on him. But Reed? He's not backing down. He's embracing the villain role, even mimicking a shoveling motion after sinking a putt. But this is not all. The controversy took a more serious turn on the final day of the President's Cup when Reed's caddy, Kessler Corain, who also happens to be his brother-in-law, got into a physical altercation with a fan. According to reports, Corain confronted a fan who had been heckling Reed during the competition. Corain later claimed that the fan had crossed a line by repeatedly yelling obscenities at Reed, and he reacted by shoving the fan. Can you believe it? The altercation led to Corain being removed from caddy duties for the final day of singles matches. Reed played his singles match without his regular caddy and ended up losing 4-2 to C.T. Pan of the international team. The incident involving Corain overshadowed Reed's performance and added another layer of controversy to his already tumultuous President's Cup experience. Despite all this, or perhaps because of it, Reed manages to secure crucial points for the U.S. team. And, you guessed, the U.S. team took the crown, just again. Here we are at number 2. We go back to 2017, where Team USA is about to put on a display of brutal dominance. Liberty National Golf Club, New Jersey. The stage is set for what should be an epic battle between the U.S. and international team. But what unfolds is less of a battle and more of a massacre. The U.S. team doesn't just win, they annihilate the competition. They take such a massive lead that they nearly clinch the cup before the final day even begins. Jordan Spieth and Patrick Reed were unstoppable. Justin Thomas was playing like a man possessed. Dustin Johnson was, well, Dustin Johnson. It was a dream team performance that turned into the international team's worst nightmare. By Sunday, the international team is so far behind that the final matches are nothing more than a formality. The U.S. ends up winning 19-11, a margin so wide you could drive a golf cart through it. A win is a win, but this was a humiliation on a global stage. Was the talent gap between the U.S. and the rest of the world, excluding Europe, sure, really that big? Was the President's Cup in danger of becoming irrelevant? Because what's the point in keeping a game going when it's so one-sided, right? And with the U.S. having dominated the President's Cup for years, this was just the most obvious example. Last but not least, we've reached number 1 of the most iconic moments in President's Cup history. But before we dive into it, please like the video if you enjoyed it so far, and subscribe to the channel to support us. It would be very much appreciated. Now let's get into it. The U.S. team is about to absolutely surprise us. Royal Melbourne Golf Club, Australia. The international team, buoyed by home advantage and a burning desire to end years of American dominance, has built up a significant lead. With just 1 day to go, they're up 10-8. The U.S. team is on the ropes, and it looks like we might be witnessing a changing of the guard. But then, something extraordinary happens. The U.S. team, led by playing captain Tiger Woods, mounts a comeback for the ages. They win 8 out of 12 singles matches on the final day, turning what looked like a certain defeat into a stunning victory. Can you believe it? And it was Tiger's first time as a playing captain. The criticism didn't take long to roll in. Could it have been favoritism? Luckily, things didn't escalate that badly, but it was definitely a comeback for the books. The next President's Cup is set for September 24-29 at Royal Montreal Golf Club in Quebec, Canada. So, what memorable moments are in store for us?